Whether they will do so or not, depends on the strength of their convictions and whatever people, are behind him and so on. We're not at a point, we haven't reached a critical mass where most of the people in the United States are standing up, understanding and standing up for the Constitution, the rule of law versus the rule of man. It may be that you don't like the rule of law. The Israelites, they were God's people. They didn't want the rule of law. They had it under the judges, and they wanted a king. They wanted the rule of man, If we want the rule of man and we want to have a president who can just declare war and fight those other guys, then hey, we're going exactly in the correct direction. But if we want to have the rule of law and stand by the Constitution, amend the Constitution if it needs to be changed, right here and then there. Yes.
But I contend that no one candidate is going to be perfect. If you have 4 criteria, not no one candidate is going to vote or advocate the way that you
perfectly
want them. And neither are they going to be strict conservative
or constitutionalists.
You're going to have to go outside of that. But
I've gone outside of that. I got a Cruz sign in my yard because he's great on everything, and I know he's not controlled by the establishment, even though he's a neocon. He's bought into that baloney that's unconstitutional. But
that's why I can't go for him. He's part of the establishment.
He's not part of
He's up there now.
He's not part of the establishment.
And I'm saying anybody that's up there now is part of the problem.
No.
Well, I think there are a few of them out there that really are not being controlled by their party leaders in the Republican and Democratic. I don't know if there's in the Democratic Party, but there are a few of them in the Republican Party that are not controlled, and that includes Trump, who's not a constitutionalist, Rubio, who's awfully good but not perfect, Rand Paul, who's probably even better but not perfect either. But he's weak. He's not as strong as Rubio. He hasn't shown as much political courage. Well, I don't want to get into a Cruz versus the other.
But they're old-time politician that's going to be status quo.
Well, if he was going to be status quo, then I agree with you. We don't want to be old-time status quo.
Cruz wasn't status quo when he won the Senate seat.
No, he stood up when he did that non-filibuster filibuster that he and Mike Lee did. That showed me that those are guys who didn't care about their political careers as much because he had everything to lose and nothing to gain politically. He had the nationalist Republican establishment who hates him, and the Texas Republican establishment who hates him for doing that, for not being controlled. Yes, sir.
If we have like all these influx of foreign people that's coming here, which is, we supposed to allow.
Supposed to what?
Allow them.
Oh, yeah.
But the deal is that, when we talk about the Constitution, you probably have 20% of Americans that want a Constitution. They rather have, if you look at other countries, it's the rule of man.
Mostly.
Most of them.
It's getting that way here.
Are coming here, and the Democratic Party is making sure that they making them a voting bloc, for power. And on another note,
it's like the illegal aliens are undocumented Democrats. We know that 80% of the people that are these from Syria will
I would like
Muslims that come in.
Texas just secede and become our own nation. But there's nobody. I only see one person that can beat Hillary because of the way the geographic is set up. Hillary is going to win, but she can't beat Ben Carson because Carson is going to get so many percentage of the black vote and Hispanic vote. Cruz is not going to get, the black people just not going to vote for him. And Hispanics, he may get 20 and 30%. Last time, what's his name? Our man, last man, Romney, he just got 24%.
Yeah, I think several of them could. I don't want to make this into a presidential contest here, but I think several of them could beat Hillary. I just don't think that several of them would be great presidents.
What did Romney say? He said 47% is going to vote Democrat anyway.
It's the dumbest thing he ever said.
There's all your candidates.
But it was dumb what he said if he knew he was on tape. But he's true about that.
Somebody needs to educate some of those people.
Well, we all need to be educated.
We got to have a strategy. The Republican Party, if we don't have a strategy, we're going to lose. We're going to lose again. point blank.
And who are we? There's a difference between the Republican Party leadership, who is not part of us. They don't stand for our Republican Party platform
If it was
versus the
their
average
choice, it
Republican.
would be Bush, they would, but he can't be here. I don't care how much the good debates he has, he cannot be here.
We are out of time, and so I'm just gonna say this. If this were a church meeting, I'd be bearing my testimony to you that the Constitution is inspired, and that it's just the greatest thing that has ever happened politically in the history of the world, and we're moving away from it. That the solution to the world's political problems are to get back to the principles of the Constitution in the tradition of the Founding Fathers, and to stand by the rule of law here, because it is, I believe, God's political system for at least an imperfect world here, where He has enabled His children to be the sovereigns and to control a political system that has separation of powers with checks and balances to keep us from the rule of man, to keep any one department, much less one man or leader in government to take over, and so that we can maintain our freedoms and have our inalienable rights protected. It is what we need to do. There's no other choice. He's not going to come. God's not going to come down here and force it on us. We have to learn what are correct principles. We've got them here. We need to stand by them. We need to learn about the laws of nature and of nature's God, the true law, the absolute truths that are out there in the ether that we can get from God, and to turn to Him, and of course to get His help to do it. Our purpose in this is to promote the Constitution and the tradition of the Founding Fathers, to show how it's just been the most wonderful thing, how we are getting away from it, and that it's our responsibility to do the very best that we can. That's all that we can do. We teach ourselves and our children and our grandchildren, and individuals influence other individuals. When you have cataclysmic events like 9/11, do you remember after 9/11, all of a sudden, everybody was talking about God and the Constitution for about 3 or 4 weeks until it started, petering out again and so on. But we're in for some rough times. And
actually, church attendance stayed up for about 6 weeks.
There were some real positives. They were faced with the greatest problem, the greatest generation, at least since Valley Forge. You can imagine, and they responded to it also. Sometimes in the book there, it said there were 60 that in our history that intervened there that we wouldn't. So God will intervene. Just wait around for the second coming when the brightness of His glory. In the meantime, we need to be doing whatever we can. I have children, and they got to live in this, just like we have to do what we can. That we do have the Constitution. If we will stand up for that, I don't know. Things don't get turned around, and we lose our liberty, and through bloodshed, have correct principles eventually. Yes.
A change of attitude on our part. One of my hot button for the choosing the lesson, the choice we need to make. Of the choices available, negative terms, we go here. Because crook, they are a firm crook.
I understand what you're saying. Are you saying we should or should not?
Always vote for the better.
I can write your name in. If I don't have a choice between people.
With the attitude that what you're saying, if we're choosing, I'm going to choose an evil. Affirm to my good judgment.
In a conciliatory that I was saying that, there's nothing in the Constitution. You should not vote for the better wise men, good and honest.
That's really a euphemism. That doesn't mean.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight too hard for my position on that. What I will fight hard for is we need to stand by the Constitution. We need to stand by the rule of law if we care about not having the rule of man. Yes.
Could I just ask a real quick question?
Please.
Someone wanted me to ask you, if we wanted to understand Islam better, what
Understand what?
would be good? Islam, Muslims better. What book would be good to do that?
Correct.
Yeah. It's a real good answer. I can tell you some. I've got a book that I believe is one, but I'm not going to recommend it because my really good friend, who's one of the most wonderful people that I know, says it's hate literature because it's really anti. So I'm not going to promote that particular one. But you and I can make decisions about it. But I'll tell you what, on the Quran, on the Muslim thing here.
What's the name of the book you can't promote?
I'll tell you later. I won't say it in the
I can tell you
part of the
one. I can tell you when I saw it's at Barnes and Noble. It's Dummy's book. It's the dummy slip on this.
Dummies
Oh,
for,
okay, yeah.
here's what I have to say about it. This is not going to be satisfactory probably to you, but number one, Ishmael is my brother. These are God's children. They are led by, they're some good people, but they're led by ungodly, damnable, mean, son of a gun, extremist leaders. And there's no question that the leadership of the Muslim world is being used for a political thing. It's not out there. It's just like the wars between the Catholics and the Protestants in Ireland back here, the IRA and so on. They didn't represent the Catholics and they didn't represent the Protestants. They represented two different bunches of thugs who were fighting each other that wanted to use religion to support them and so on. And in this Muslim case, I don't agree with Muslim religion, obviously, for a whole bunch of different reasons. Even those people who are the strongest supporters and say you need to not get into this hate deal and so on will admit they got a real problem with women. There's no way in the world that you can justify their religious position on women and so on, and some of the things that are done. And I believe a lot of other things too, but I think you can read the Quran, we can try to understand. It's a complex, I know that's the last
Read the Bible.
refuge of a weak argument to say it's complex, but it is a situation that I think if you care about it, we ought to read read that, recognize that there's evil leadership over there. We have to fight against it. It's not hateful, it's not unchristian to say that we're not going to have Sharia law here. It goes against our law here in America. And there's nothing unchristian about that at all, or intolerant about that.
Are there versions, just real quick, are there versions of the Quran that are more accurate, or is it just any version you
No, I think the Quran, you can get them spelled with a K, spelled with a Q.
Okay.
You read the Quran and the Hadith, and I forget what the other two are called,
The
but
letters.
I can't remember.
If you want to pick up an author that I think gets right to the heart of both subjects, the Trinity by Leon Urish, in terms of the discussion of...
Is he still alive?
No.
No.
But he's a Jewish Marine, fought in World War II. Excellent author. He wrote a book called The Hajj. If you want to read Exodus, which he wrote, from the standpoint of the Jewish people and their opinion about the Arab culture, you read the Hajj. If you tell a Muslim you read the Hajj, his head will explode. They do not like that book. H-A-J-J.
Well, Glenn Beck has a book called It Is About Islam. It's a pretty good summary of my book. I just finished that book.
Yeah, I've read.
Which one?
It Is About Islam by
Oh,
Glenn
yes,
Beck.
it is about Islam. Yeah, I'm not an expert. I got my own personal opinions about that, but it's nothing that I'd want to promulgate.
It
One thing
is about Islam.
we talked about at the
It is
beginning
about
about,
Islam.
a lot of people, we didn't talk about this, but there's a lot of people that didn't vote in there because they were disenfranchised, kind of back to what he said, they didn't want to vote. They didn't want to vote because it was one of them they didn't like, and the other one they didn't like as much. When it comes to Romney and then also on the electronic voting machines that we were talking about earlier. If we don't get that under control, we're not. I mean, we've got to. Is there a way through the Constitution? Or is there a way to?
We just influence our legislators to change the law to where we don't have, to where we do have paper backup. So right now, we're
Because he lost it. In my opinion, he lost it there as much as he lost it.
They disappeared 10 million votes. He didn't lose that election. He actually won. I didn't vote for him, by the way, but he didn't. I didn't vote for Obama either. But he didn't lose that election. He won it. They just disappeared 10 million votes to do it.
But we got to get control of that, the voting process.
We do.
Isn't that our right? Don't we have a right to vote?
Absolutely. We can just 100% control that through our representatives in Congress. We've got to get our representatives in Congress. We're so far from doing that, but that's what this is all about. We're out of time. I just hope that you will feel encouraged and a responsibility that I'm going to do the best I can. And I am going to take, I'm one person, but I'm going to do what I can. George isn't here, but he's the leader of our little group, who, just one guy that got started 6, 8, 10 years ago and has done tremendous things. You know, he started grassroots with the people. He wasn't political at all before. And we can do whatever we can do. Doc and Randall and others in our individual lives. we can do what we can do, and the good news is we do have the Constitution. With all the problems, it's still the best that there's ever been in the world, and our country is still bad, except for every other country in the world is better than every other country in the world, so
The lesser of
we
two
ought to be
evils.
encouraged. Pardon?
The lesser of two evils.
That actually should be
It's not
called,
evil.
it should be called the evil of two lessers.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
All this cost you,
Thanks so much.
Not a lot. Hey, what are we gonna do next?
Keep on keeping on.
Huh?
Keep on keeping on.
What do you need to,
Hey, Tom, do you go around all year giving these talks?
Well, we're gonna do it here and there, I mean, but we're gonna try to find other people. We'll probably be contacting you to see if
I
there's some
noticed
of
you
you that
gave
might
one,
be interested in doing
I
it.
noticed you were talking in April. You gave one in April?
We started one back around in April.
Yeah, so, and this one, is that two?
That's two that we've done. We've got another one that's,
See who the author of the
that is being set up with another big church.
was that this one?
Countdown to Jerusalem.
We have really enjoyed
We got good material. We have the Constitution. If someone will stick to the Constitution and so on, I mean, everybody would take a different approach, and you know, most of the people in here could do it if they were willing to. You know, to get some, most churches will allow you to do it if you're
Yeah.
not trying
John
to get out there
Hagin.
and fight some political issues battle, you know.
Yeah, I've heard of him before. He's a preacher, isn't he?
Yeah, John Hagin wrote the book and wrote Jerusalem Countdown.
M3 was basically, M3 is basically a measure of how much the central bank is increasing the money supply, how much
Bible.
they're
increasing. And really? John Hagin.
Is it 16? They're big. That's December 16th.
No, just a minute. It's the other brother, Isaac Ishmael. Yeah. It explains.
They're thinking of a name
They
she
went
found.
to places. Well, and they claim Jerusalem.
That book right there will explain. It's 13, oh, in Kindle it's 1049.
That's not bad. We do a lot of things for $10.25.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a prelude to war, but it also explains, but there might be on that page.
Yeah. It sounds like we'll say hi again.
see what they got going on
She's about 99% wrong, and he's about 80% wrong.
I don't know, but I do know what, I do know. At the university.
I believe we'll see a whole bunch of negative templates.
Cruz is definitely elected.
Well, he's been honest. And the thing is you gotta watch him every minute. You know, because they're prone to temptation and they can slack. Okay, here's Joel Skousen. He's the son of the guy that wrote the 5,000 Year Leap book right here, Joel Skousen. And then he wrote this 31-page. So all of these people are controlled by the Republican Party, the establishment. All these people are anti-establishment. So right there, if you want to get somebody that's not, you know, you pick from this list rather from this list, it's going to be absolutely. And anyway, he goes through, you know, the pluses and the minuses of everybody, and he's got minuses on Cruz.
Bobby Jindal dropped out today.
Yeah, I know. I got to see that, and he had a good.
There was about 4 or 5 others I wish had dropped out before him, like Christie and.
But see, yeah, while he had the stage, I wish he would have said something about that Syrian refugee thing, because went from 20 to 32 governors, you know, that said they're going to oppose Syrians, and he should have made a big statement on that.
Well, I mean,
On the negative side, Cruz is too ambitious in his quest to be president. When you want it too badly to achieve political success, you will compromise and do whatever it takes. I prefer a no compromise stance of real statesmen like Ron Paul. Like Mitt Romney, Cruz admires Ronald Reagan for his willingness to compromise in order to get things done. This is the best. This.
now is that available online?
Yeah, let me send it. Let me send you a link. I don't think I have your right email address. Is it N5XPD?
At suddenlink.net.
And I don't think. Are you sure that's? You sure that's? Okay.
Send it to me and
Joel Skousen.
N5XPD at suddenlink.net. And
Do we need to give a donation or anything like that?
No. What we need is to keep this thing going.
I know, but did the church, the diocese donate the building?
Yeah.
Good. I'll have to tell Bishop that. I'll have to tell Bishop Strickland, thank you. See where my money's going. I'm a Catholic.
Yes.
This is our diocese.
One down here for the
Yeah.
list and 5 for another book.
Okay. It's all honor system. So it's a small. Yeah, here, can you read that? Is that what? Oh, yeah.
I was done my own research on it.
No, what happened?
I couldn't vote for
I don't know what I'm doing. Let me see. Send me an email at BOBB at here.
N5XPD at suddenlink.net.
What am I reading this? N5XPD. Okay. Okay. Joe Skousen, presidential summary. Okay. Let's see if you get it. See how fast you get it. But anyway, I just want to keep doing, you know.